Hi everybody, this is Eva from Brainival, and today we are going to see how to use Cognito Sync from Amazon Web Services in Unity. Basically, it's a service that you can use to synchronize data across devices. It works on both Android and iOS, so you can use it to save the progression of your players and their records, and as I said, you can synchronize the progression across devices. To use this, you have to be authenticated with a social provider. There are a whole bunch of providers that are accepted by Amazon, but the easiest to implement is Facebook. So I've prepared a small project with the Facebook SDK, as I explained in the previous tutorial. What I did is just a basic UI interface where you can log in. I've prepared a few test users to use. For example, I'm just going to retrieve one access token to show you what I did, and when you are logged in, you can see your profile picture and your first name, and you can log out if you want. I'm going to post a blank project on GitHub if you want to start from the same point as I. Just remember to set it up on Facebook with your own app ID and everything. So let's begin with the Cognito Sync part. I assume you've already set up your Amazon Web Services account, and then you just go in the Amazon Cognito part. You can create a new identity pool. I called my project Sync Test, so we're going to use the same name here. We're going to enable access to unauthenticated identities because it's going to allow us to sync data even if we are not logged in on Facebook. And for authentication provider, you can use a whole bunch of them, as I said, but the easiest one is Facebook. So we just have to pass the Facebook app ID here. I'm going to retrieve it from the dashboard of the app I created here. So we copy it and paste it here. And then we just click on Create Pool. We have to allow some authorization here. We just had the same name as in another project, so I had to just change the name. I put a 1 at the end, and then we're good on the Amazon side of things. You just have to download the SDK, and we are going to begin with importing it in Unity. So I'm using the 3.1.1.0 version of Cognito Sync here. Which is the latest one, I think, at the time of this tutorial. We're just going to import everything. And I'm going to delete all the examples because we're not going to use them today. So, before we begin with coding, just a few issues that are going to be problematic after if you want to build this project on a device. The first thing is you need to put the API compatibility level in .NET 2.0. Otherwise it's going to work very fine in the editor but not on your device, either an Android or iOS device. And then we have issue on both Android and iOS. On Android you have to go in the plugin folder. In the plugin folder, but not of Facebook's. And then you're going to find the Android manifests. The thing is, Amazon, when it compiled in its Android manifest, put an Android Min SDK version of 9, and you have to change that to 15. Otherwise, it's going to make a build error with Facebook, because Facebook needs to an API level of 15 or more. On iOS, you're going to need a link.xml file that you have to put in your asset folder. You can find this link.xml file either on the GitHub page of Amazon Web Services, or I put it in the whole project. You can find the link under this video. Basically, it's a whole bunch of libraries that Unity and then Xcode are going to forget when they are building the project into an app, and it just tells Xcode to preserve these libraries. Other than that, it's gonna work very fine in the editor, but it's not gonna build itself on an iPhone or an iPad. Now we can begin scripting. So we are gonna create a new script. I'm gonna call it sync client, for example. We are gonna attach it to the main camera. And so in this sync client, we won't use the update function, but we will use the start function. So to begin with, we are going to need a whole bunch of packages. First, I'm going to create a UI interface. So we'll be using the Unity engine.ui. Then there are going to be some dictionaries or lists. So we are going to need the system.collections.generic library. And then we are going to use the whole Amazon stuff. So we're going to need the Amazon library, and then the Amazon.runtime library, the Cognito identity library, and the sub-library that's named modal. I don't know if the whole bunch are really useful, but in all the examples that I saw, they were always there, so I'm just copying that. And we're going to finish with the Amazon.CognitoSync.Sync Manager library. So that's it for the whole library thing. And we will then need, I'm going to make this global variables. We will need a data set. It's a type that's introduced by Amazon, which is going to contain the information that we will want to synchronize. To synchronize it, we will need a Cognito Sync Manager. That I'm going to call Sync Manager very originally, and we're going to need some credentials. Again, a very original name of the type Cognito AWS credentials. And then in the start function, the first thing we need to do is to attach a prefab. This is done with this command. Other than that, it's going to do a whole bunch of errors. So we just have to attach to GameObject this GameObject. Which is going to initialize everything everything Amazon needs to initialize, and then we'll just to see the debugs in the debug console, the whole logs of what Amazon is doing. We need to, in the AWS configs .logging config, we need to put log2. The Unity logger. Be very careful with this line, because it's gonna make a build error if you try to build this on an iOS device. It's gonna work in the editor, but if you want to build on an iOS device, I don't know why, but it's not gonna work. Next, we need to create some credentials. So it's done with the command new Cognito AWS credential, which is going to need two arguments. The first one is your identity pool ID. We're going to retrieve that in our Amazon Web Services space, and the second one is your regions. So you just have to put the adapted region for yourself. And to retrieve the identity pool ID, it's the you have to click on Edit Identity Pool, and you can find it here on the second line. Just copy it and paste it here. So that way, either some credentials have been saved into the device, and it's going to retrieve it, or it's going to just create them from this identity pool and this region. The next thing we're going to need is a sync manager. To create that, we use a new Cognito sync manager command, and it's going to need our credentials, and we have to just put a new region endpoint, which is done with the region endpoint dot and then new region like before. And that's it for the initialization. Our dataset of player info, we can now, by using our sync manager, open it or create it. It's done with the command open or create dataset. Again, if there is nothing on the phone, it's going to just create it from blank. And if there was something that was previously saved, it's going to find it and open it. And we are going to call it player info as well. And then we just have to decide what we're going to put in this player info dataset. I'm going to begin creating some UI interface. We'll duplicate one of the interface I just did before, and we're going to call it score UI or info UI, I don't know. In this UI, I don't want a login button, but a synchronize button that we will use to synchronize the data between the editor and the Amazon Web Services server. And then I'm going to create a bunch of UI input field. Let's put it here a bit on the left. The synchronize button, I'm going to put it at the bottom of the screen. We're going to modify the text to tell synchronize and not login. Synchronize. My first input field is going to contain some basic information. I don't know, for example, the name of our character, so name input field. Then we are going to have some different variables that we want to sync. I don't know, some health, for example, some experience, or some money. Just remove the one at the end. So health typo, health without typo input field. Then I'm going to put a third one. I don't know, X input field, for example. Just to have some data to synchronize and modify. I'm going to put these three fields like this, and then I'm just so that we know which field is which. I'm going to create a text. It's going to go at the left side of our input field. So the first one was the name of the character, so I'm going to tell name, perhaps a bit bigger. I'm going to rename it name text and duplicate it 2 times. We're going to have the health text, again with the typo, and the exp text. I'm just going to position them correctly and put the good text in each of them. That way we have our variables name, health, and exp, and we can modify them as we want. In the health input field, I'm just going to tell it that I want an integer number. Same for the experience. And for the first one, it's just a standard content. So that's it. In our score UI, we have 3 input fields, which are going to represent 3 different variables, and we are going to sync them and see if everything goes fine. So back into our sync client, I'm just gonna create a variable named public score UI, which is gonna contain our score UI, and we are gonna find the input field in it. I'm going to state it's a game object. And then we are going to have a string variable representing the name, an integer representing the half, and another integer representing the experience of our player. I need to write some function for when our user has typed something into one of the input fields. So for example, there is the change name function. It's going to have an argument which is a string, which is going to be the new name. And what I want to do is the name variable here is going to be represented by the new name that we typed. And we are going to do the same thing for health and experience. So change health with a variable which is always a string. So we are going to have to convert this string into an integer. So there could be, if our string didn't represent it in integer, it's going to throw some exception. So I'm going to put it in a try block. We're going to try to put in half the new half variable, and if it's not possible, it's not possible. Just have to type the catch section, and we're not going to put anything in it. We don't. It's a basic project. Just to test some things, I'm going to do the same thing with our change exp function, and each of one of these functions is going to go back into our project. In the name input field, there is an event on end edit, and I'm going to add each time. So for this one, I'm going to add on the main camera in our sync client class. There is a change name function. I'm going to add it on this input field. On the health input field, I'm going to do exactly the same, but with the change health function. And on our exp input field, again, exactly the same thing. On the main camera, this sync client class, and this is our change exp function. Just to check, change exp, change health, change name. I didn't do anything wrong. And then still on our main camera, there's a same client script. We have to put our score UI into the game object. I'm not using it for now, but I'm going to use it later. And now we can go back to our script, and we are going to put our data into the variable player info. So in our function change name, I'm going to go in player info, and I'm going to put the data. I just have to create a new key, which is going to be name, and the value is the new name. We are going to do the same thing with our health. Put on the health key. So the value is always a string. So we're going to use our new health variable and not the health integer, or we could put health.to string. And for the exp, exactly the same thing. Player info put exp new exp. That way, each time we change some variable, we put it into the player info dataset. And if we want to synchronize our dataset, I'm going to create the function. It's public because we are going to want to access it to put it on the event, on the unclick event of our synchronize button. The command is very simple. It's player info dot synchronize. You can either synchronize asynchronously right now or synchronize on connectivity. For the second one is going to wait to have some to be able to reach a network and then synchronize at that one. I'm going to use this one for our tests, and that's all you have to do. And before I forget, we're also going to need to attach to our synchronize. It's linking to the login function because I had duplicated the UI interface. We need to point on the synchronize function that we created. And now we're good to test. So I'm going to put a cool name in the name function, then some health and exp. Why isn't it working? For some reason my video recorder is missing with the input field, so I put some cool name here and then some data into health and then into exp, and we're going to try to synchronize everything. So if we go into our console, we can see that he attached the Unity initial server to main camera, and then the Cognito Sync setup a database. Here is something from Facebook, and so gave us some identity, whose name of the identity is here, and then he pushed 3 records to remote, which correspond to our name, and then health, and then exp. The sync count, which was 0, is now 1, and apparently the sync was successful. So let's go on our identity pool, and we're going to see if everything works correctly. So I have one identity in the identity browser, and if I go there and then click on player info, I'm going to find the exp, the health, and the very cool name. So everything worked pretty fine. So back to scripting. We will need now to update the information, the name, the health, and the experience according to what's in the player info. So I'm just gonna type some function void like update information function, which is going to read everything in player info and put it into our variables and into the input fields. So the first thing we are going to see if we have, each time you have to test if the string you have is null or empty, because if there is nothing in the player info dataset, it's going to return null, a null string. So if our player info .get, if we want to get some variable, so we're going to begin with the name. If our player info .get name is not null or empty, just going to put an exclamation mark here. We are going to retrieve it and put it into the variable name. And then into, I called it score UI. So into our score UI transform, I'm going to find the child that is named name input field. Get the component, the input field component of this, and then in its text field we're going to put the name that we found. So that's it. If there is nothing in the player info, I won't change the name variable and I won't put it on the score UI. We're going to copy this 3 times because there is a half with a typo. So if we have an health variable into our player info, I want to put it in the health variable here, but since it's an int and not a string, I'm going to have to parse it. And in the health input field, I'm going to show the health variable to string. And the last thing is with the exp variable. So same thing here, it's an integer, so we have to parse it from the player info.get in the exp key, and I'm going to find the exp input field and put in it as a variable x.toString. So to verify that everything is correct, I'm gonna call this update information function at the very beginning of our start function. That way it's going to retrieve the saved values from the previous session, and then we're going to call it when the synchronization was successful. But just to check that there are no mistakes, yeah, if found our call name or half and exp from the stored data. Next thing we're going to do, we are going to call this update function whenever we successfully synchronized our data. That way, if the data was modified on another device, we're going to be posted on editor or not. Like this. So it's in our player info. We have a bunch of events on data set deleted, on dataset merged, on sync conflict, on sync failure, on sync success. So it's on sync success event that we are going to add a callback. I'm going to call it sync success callback, and we are going to implement it a bit later here. So this sync success callback is taking two arguments. The first one is of type object and is a sender, and the second one is of type sync success event args, like this. So when we are here, the synchronization was successful, so we can see we can now decide to update our information from what we saw in the player info variable. We can also see a whole bunch of information if we want to. For example, we can have the list of, it's a type record that Amazon introduced. We can see the list of the records that were updated. It's in the second argument that updated records field. That way, for example, if you synchronize the records of your player in a different bunch of levels, and I don't know, you have a star count on each one of these levels, and you want to retrieve them. You don't want to store, for example, you just want to store the records of your player, but not the number of stars they got on this level. If you see that the record was modified, you can then compute the new star value for this level, for example. For our test purpose, I'm just going to put debug.log with them. With the record that was adopted. So if you have a key, new record, get key. So the key is going to tell us the name of this record. I'm going to say it was updated and put the new value here, which you can find in the value field of this record. That way, we are going to see in the console everything that was updated. We are going to just test this. Thanks to success callback, I must have made a typo. I forgot an S here. And then what did I do? Not contains count. So records counts. Okay, we should be good to go. So I had the names, the alpha and the exp here. I'm going to just modify something online. So for example, the exp, I'm going to put 1245, save the change and synchronize. I have to refresh the page because it was too long since the last time I was here. Save change. So when you save them, you have to synchronize them into the dataset. So it's synchronized here. I'm going to synchronize here on the editor. and yeah, he found that the value was updated. You can see it in the log. X was updated and the value is 1245. So everything is working like we wanted. The next thing we want to do is to link our Facebook identity with this with our Cognito Sync client. So to do that, I'm going to go back into our Facebook client script, and it's kind of the same as the one I was presenting you in a previous tutorial. And when we are logged in, we are going to need to send something to the Sync client. So in the Sync client, I'm going to create a public function, Facebook as logged in. The thing we need to pass to Cognito Sync is the access token of Facebook. I'm also going to tell us the ID, the Facebook ID of the person that connected. Is going to be very useful later. You're going to see why. And the command to link the identity with Facebook is just add login. We have to put the provider name. So the provider name in this case is graph.facebook.com, and the token that we were sent here. I'm going to use the ID later. And in Facebook, when we have called the show UI function, which is called either on the initialization or after our login, and that's where we request the picture and the first name of our player. We are gonna go into the Sync client, and we are gonna launch the function Facebook as logged in, and we're gonna give it the token and the ID of the access token of our player, and it's Facebook ID. So the access token is in the access token class, then current access token, then token string, and the ID is also in the access token class, current access token, and then you have a field user ID that contains it. I'm going to put this, and then the Sync client is going to retrieve it and is going to put it in the credentials. So let's test this directly. So to log in, I need an access token. So I'm going to use one of my test users, John, for example. And then I'm going to put the access token here. Send success. I'm logged in. And when I was logged in, my identity was linked. I can't see it in the debug.log console because in the log console because I didn't put any debug.log. But if I synchronize, I'm going to see now on the identity browsers, on this identity, that it has a linked login with Facebook. Which is really cool because if you now build your project on a device and log in as the same test user, and if you modify the name, the alpha, or the exp in this while being logged in and then synchronize, you're going to see each time you click on the synchronize button, you're going to see that the data is correctly synchronized across the devices and the Unity editor. But there is one or two catch. I mean, you just have to know it. It can be problematic when you have logged in your account with a Facebook ID. If you are not logged in like this, and you try to synchronize, it's going to throw a whole bunch of error because once you synchronize, you linked an identity with a Facebook account or another social provider account, you have to be logged in to be able to synchronize. It's not really a problem since on a device you will be logged in. Once you have logged in once on Facebook, you usually are kept logged in each time you are in the app, but still you have to know it, and it's best to test before synchronizing. Like here in this function, we could write a test to verify that if Facebook has been logged in at least once. We are logged in here. Otherwise, there are going to be a whole bunch of errors. That's the first thing. And the second thing that can be problematic is if you try to log in with another user. It can happen, for example, in a family where a tablet is shared between several children. They can each want to log in with their Facebook account and have their save loaded at that point. If you try to log in as another user like this and then synchronize, it's gonna throw a whole bunch of error because the identity linked to this device isn't linked with this Facebook account but another one.
So to correct this, the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to record the Facebook ID of our logged in user. Since I passed it here in our function Facebook as logged in, I can just put it in our data that is going to be synchronized. Not player info, sorry, Facebook ID. And I'm going to put the ID associated to it like this. And once we have recorded this Facebook ID, we can do the first thing I was telling you about. It's if you want to synchronize, and if you know that you have already logged in as on Facebook, so you would get that with our player info that get that Facebook ID field. So if it's not null or empty, you know that you have already logged in, and you just have to check, are you logged in or not? I think I'm going to need a boolean for that in our Facebook client. I don't think, yeah, we're just going to add this in our Facebook client. I'm going to add a boolean, which is going to be public, and which is going to tell us if Facebook is logged in or not, which is going to be false at the, oh, we don't know yet. We're going to initialize this in our show UI function because the show UI function is called at the very beginning after initialization, and each time we log in or each time we log out. So we just have to update our variable is logged in here. So it's true if we're logged in, and it's false if we're not. Like this, here I can test if I get the component which is called Facebook client, and its variable is logged in. So if we logged once on Facebook and we are not currently logged in, we shouldn't synchronize. We are going to make a message in the debug console like you must be logged in to synchronize. That way we won't get our bunch of error that I was telling you about. And if not, so either it's because we never logged in on Facebook, or because we have already we logged at least once on Facebook and we are currently logged in. If not, we can synchronize our data. So we're going to test that. I'm realizing in my update information I forgot something. I just forgot each time I tested if we had a value associated to the name or alpha or exp key in our player info, and so I updated the UI. But if we don't have any value, we still have to update our input field with nothing, because there is no name or no elf or no exp. It's gonna be useful in a minute when we test with a new account that has currently no information no alpha, no exp, or no nothing. So like this, yeah, it's going to be correctly updated. If we have information, it's going to put the information in the input field, and if we haven't any information, it's going to put a blank, an empty text in the input field. Okay, so let's just test if everything is okay with our recording of the Facebook ID. So I'm gonna run the project. We're gonna get a token, but not from Jennifer, a token from John. And I'm gonna pass it here to log in as John. So John has logged in. I'm gonna synchronize the data. We're gonna verify our identity. Yeah, we now have the Facebook ID, and it's the Facebook ID of John. We can see that here. Okay, so we're good on this, and now like if we log out just to test it and try to synchronize, yeah, we got our error message. You must be logged in to synchronize. So everything is good for this part. The second part is more trickier. Took me a while to figure it, but it's going to be in our Facebook as login function. We're going to test if we are a new user or if we are the regular Facebook user. We're going to test it by retrieving the old Facebook ID, the one that is stocked into our player info dataset. So if there's two different options. Either we don't have an old Facebook ID, so if string is null or empty, old Facebook ID, or if we have something in our Facebook ID and it equals the ID with which we have logged in. So something like ID equals old Facebook ID. In either of this case, we are either a new user, completely new, or we are the regular Facebook user. So we can put the ID. It's going to be useful if we were in that case, and we can add the token into our credential, and we will be able to synchronize and everything. If not, we are a new user. I'm just going to test that everything is okay. For now, with a debug.log message, a new user detected. So if I go back into my project and run it, and if we log in as John, everything is okay, no new user detected. If I log out and I retrieve the access token for Jennifer, and log in as Jennifer, yeah, I get the new user detected message. So let's go back in the case where a new user was detected. I'm going to keep the new user detected in the debug.log. That way we're going to see it in the console. So we have to remove everything, basically. We have to clear our credentials. And we have to delete everything in our dataset player info. The commands are pretty clear. I mean, if you want to keep the data, you still have to delete everything in the player info, because this player info dataset is linked to the ID which was connected to the previous Facebook user. So you have to delete everything. You could put everything back. We're going to see how to put things back into our player info in just a minute. Because we are going to want to put the new Facebook ID in our player info dataset. But if you don't want any bug, you have to delete everything here. Then we can add in our credential the login associated, the token associated to this Facebook account, like this. And the last thing we need to do we need to synchronize. Except I don't think it's gonna. Yeah, it's gonna synchronize because we are in the case where we are logged in. No, because we have. Yeah, either one. We don't have Facebook ID and Facebook is logged in. So for both reasons, this should synchronize correctly. And once the synchronization is over, we want to add in our player info dataset the Facebook ID. We can't add it before the synchronization because it needs to do a synchronization just to make the change of identity. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a coroutine which is going to wait for the end of synchronization and which is going to need to have the ID, the Facebook ID that we want to add in our player info dataset. I'm also going to need a new boolean. I'm going to call sync, which is going to be false by default. And while there is a synchronization, so while our boolean is true, yield return null. So when the boolean sync becomes false, the synchronization is over, and we can add in our player info with the Facebook ID key the value associated here, the ID that we passed. And we are going to launch this coroutine here, start coroutine, wait for end of sync with the ID that we have. We just have to be sure that the sync variable is always updated. So when we begin a synchronization, it should be true. And at the end of the synchronization here, when the synchronization was a success, it should become false. I think we have everything that we need to test it, so let's test. I'm going to run the project. I can't remember which access token is here, so I'm going to generate a new one with Jennifer, the new user. So we log in as Jennifer, new user detected, and we had a sync success. So the synchronization went very well, and we didn't have any error. If we go see on our identity browser, we will see that a new identity was created, and this new identity has no dataset right now because when we synchronized, there was nothing in our player info dataset. We put the Facebook ID, but after the synchronization. But the important part is we have a new identity and everything went well. We are going to add some value in our field. Again, my video recorder is messing with me, so I'm just going to pause for a minute. So just put some values in our fields. So for the name, the health, and the experience with our Jennifer account, I'm going to synchronize these values. And it pushed everything into remote. So if we go and see here in our new dataset, we'll see that now we have a player info dataset with everything I put, the Facebook ID associated to this test user that I can see here, and the experience, the health, and the name of this second user. And now that they both have values on all the fields, if I get an access token for John and log in as John, he's gonna synchronize and automatically change all the fields here without any error, and we have all the value associated to John. Again, if I log out and log in back as Jennifer, I'm gonna retrieve all the information of Jennifer, so the name, the health, and the exp that I put before. This concludes this tutorial. I hope you liked it. If so, don't hesitate to subscribe to this channel or to download whatever games. I've put the whole project, both the initial one and the final one, on GitHub. You can find the link below this video. if you use one of them, just don't forget to create your own app ID on Facebook and to create your own identity pool on Cognito Sync, and then update these variables inside the project that you downloaded. That's all for today. Bye.